just making sure that youth are centered in kind of like the conversations, in the co-creation process, the review process, and it's just really everything that we do at Mind Your Mind really needs to have that voice of youth. We really want to center it. And it's that sense of like empowerment. It's that sense of knowing that their lived experience with mental illness, with navigating the system, with going to emergency room service at a time of a mental health or substance use crisis is expertise. And we treat it as such. We really value their experience. We value their perspectives, innovation, and this process that we do through our design labs. That's why it's so meaningful. It's using like design thinking. So we have creativity and social innovation, but it's also engaging youth in those really important conversations and giving them a space to talk about them. And then after that, doing something about them.
Another episode of the SpeakReal Podcast, sharing one-on-one conversations. We believe that storytelling is the best way to empower youth and give them the platform to find their voices.
Presented by YouthSpeak. Youth experience, youth voice, youth empowered.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley. I'm a facilitator and speaker here at YouthSpeak. And today I'm excited to reintroduce my friends Jill and Valentina from Mind Your Mind. We actually did an Instagram Live together before, which was an absolute blast. They were my first guests ever when I did my first IG Live, and that was on June 13th, which you can find on our page at YouthSpeak Can. And if you love them as much as I do, which I know you will, you can feel free to check it out if you haven't already. Now, last but not least, before we get into the nitty-gritty, I just want to take the time to appreciate TD Bank, who sponsors our IG Lives as well as our podcast. We're so appreciative of their continuous support for us and our messaging around promoting youth mental health. So we are just so grateful for them and everyone who believes in us. Now, without further ado, hello, my friends. How are you? How have your mornings been?
Hello. They're great so far. Like it's just the perfect fall weather. The trees are changing, and that makes me really happy. I think fall is like my favorite season.
Mine too.
So great morning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's always harder to focus, I think, on days like this. Because sometimes I just want to be outside, but it's great. It's great. We're excited to be here.
That is such a good point. On to the fall weather. Fall is my favorite season. I think it might be the only season I like. I don't like the two extremes, but I mean, Canada is Canada. But yeah, those trees are starting to change. The leaves are falling. It's warm and oh, the colors are beautiful. And summer just lasted too long, in my opinion, but I'm happy we're on track. Okay, so I know you guys already, thank goodness. But could you please introduce yourselves and your roles at Mind Your Mind to our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Jill Vanderlee. I am program coordinator of the Be Safe app at Mind Your Mind. I've been here for a little over a year. And it's been really fun. It's a really, really fantastic organization, and it's really cool to be able to like connect youth to resources and really help them kind of find the support for themselves. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. And my name is Valentina. I'm the community engagement coordinator at Mind Your Mind. I've been here for I think like over 2 years now, and it's incredible to learn and see all the resources that we co-create with youth. And I'm very passionate about kind of like centering youth in this co-creation process. So I'm happy to be here and tell you more about this one resource that we co-design in our design labs.
Oh, lovely. So glad to have you guys back. And I'm so excited to talk about the app with both of you. This is going to be so awesome. So yeah, today we're going to be focusing a lot on the Be Safe app that your team has developed. So could you give us like a general overview of the intended purpose of the Be Safe app and what specific needs does it aim to address?
Absolutely. So the app actually launched in 2014. So we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary this year, which is very exciting. And we really we worked with a group of youth to create the app. And the purpose was always as another tool for youth to have in their back pocket to get the support that they need to stay safe in a mental health or substance use crisis. And so the app is entirely free. And it looks to support users in navigating and selecting the most appropriate mental health or substance use supports when they need them and where they need them the most. And so there's a digital safety plan feature. It allows users to complete it directly on their phone, again, so they have it with them whenever they need it. The app is entirely confidential. We can't see or we don't collect any information that's put on the app. So again, we were a big fan of keeping the confidentiality for youth, and so that they can know and trust in this resource as something that is just going to help them and is there to serve them and not for our gains. And then also the app is actually award-winning, which is kind of a little fun fact. But it's been, yeah, it's kind of like, well, we'll talk a little bit more about the story and its spread, but we've just been really impressed with how people have reacted to it. And we know it is helping youth across Canada, which is awesome.
Incredible. People are impressed because you guys are impressive, and that is really all it is. And yeah, something I really love is that there's multiple resources to choose from, right? Because everyone is different. Everyone has a different backstory. Everyone has different goals as well within that. So having them have the opportunity to kind of dissect what resources are out there and what is available, and also having them in a very accessible place, like within an app on your phone. Almost everyone has a phone. We're in a digital age, and just having all that right in your back pocket is so, so valuable. That's incredible.
I think there's so many resources out there that we just don't even know about. And so it's really important to be able to find those easily.
That's for sure. We don't know what we don't know, and having all of those in one place is so, so beneficial. And it's going to help it already does help so many people. That's why it's award-winning. Like you guys said, it makes total sense. Okay, our next question is, what inspired the creation of this resource?
So as we mentioned in our previous IG Live and a little bit earlier, so we have a kind of like a youth engagement process called Design Labs. And through this ones, we want to kind of address different gaps that we see, challenges that the youth themselves are facing. So we really hear from them kind of like any issues, any challenges that they're facing. And partners and other youth service providers also come to us telling us about kind of like maybe a challenge, a barrier that they're seeing, or that they want to kind of team up with us and address. So we teamed up with CAMH and the Family Service Thames Valley, and then a group of youth of really, really passionate youth that wanted to create change. And then that's where we kind of like acknowledge that service navigation and staying safe at a time of a mental health or substance use crisis is really, really big. And especially service navigation is a huge gap in our system right now. As Jill was saying, like there's so many great services out there, but it's just finding them or finding the ones that are suited for your immediate needs or in your area as well. So there was a huge gap that we saw in the system. So we wanted to kind of like get together with the youth and start ideating ways that we could address this. And that's where the Be Safe app was born. And it was born out of like kind of like this process, but it was also meant to be like an intuitive app that could be used for youth and also service providers to help youth navigating all the services across Canada.
Beautiful. I feel like something you guys remind me of is the idea of hope. And within that, I mean, like, there are so many services that we just don't know we have the access to. And especially coming together with youth and other service providers to kind of like just build the best program you possibly can is such a wonderful thing. And it's such a beautiful process to be in there with the youth to see exactly what's going on from their perspective, right? Because I mean, being an adult, I feel like it's different. Even like my younger cousins, like I have no idea what they're going through because their upbringing is just so much different from mine, and that's natural. So like sometimes there can be that gap in understanding, but communicating with them gives us all the insight that we need because they're so smart and so intelligent and they know exactly what they're talking about because they're going through it. And that idea of just not knowing what's out there, it can feel very lonely. So I feel like you guys are just that outlet of hope that things do get better. And there's so many ways to help yourself and be awesome and fantastic and be so cool and awesome again. Great.
Wow, that really hit home.
Yeah, I'm like almost like teary.
I feel chills. Like I feel like tingly
Yeah.
because that is exactly what we
Yeah.
intend to be. That kind of like place where youth can like share these barriers and feel that they are part of this co-creation process and they're empowered to be like, I can make change. And the youth that were in this design lab were passionate about creating that change. And that was in 2014. That was 10 years ago. And this app continues to grow and expand and support other youth and give them that sense of hope and connect them with the resources they need. So wow, the way you frame that gave me so many chills and so many feels.
I think there's so many times too that we talk about like the negative parts about our system, and there is so much. There is a ton of barriers. Like we don't want to diminish that. We know wait times are really long. We know that people are struggling to find the help that they're looking for. We know that we're in a mental health crisis, but that's all we want is to be that hope. Like there is hope. We can spend forever talking about those things, but there is a way through. Yeah, that was really beautiful. Thank you.
I'm glad you appreciated my little spiel on how you guys are. I feel like that's all I do when I am with you guys. Like I just have such amazing things to say because you're doing such incredible work and making such a difference. So I don't know, just saying all these things, it just comes naturally, pops on the brain, and boom, there it goes.
You're natural at this. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you, because you guys are naturally fantastic and awesome. I feed off of you guys. I really did. Okay, next, could you tell us a bit more about the features and functionalities that users can expect to see during the use of this app?
Yeah, absolutely. So we created the app with youth. So those youth identified what would be most important to them when they're navigating like a substance use or mental health crisis. And so those were then the features that became the app. So there's kind of three central parts around like finding support. And again, that system navigation piece. There's safety planning right in the app, and then also a section on reaching out safely. And so that system navigation, there's two ways that youth can go about that. The app is designed to be very, very simple because we know when you're in a crisis, it's incredibly difficult to think through your actions. It's hard to remember things. It's hard to, recall the information that you know to be true when you're feeling well. But when that crisis comes up. So again, we want to be very little thought. Youth are able to go in and click get help. And you're going to go through a stream of yes or no questions. So it's going to be very, very simple in finding like a smaller list of supports. So it's not incredibly overwhelming. We're not trying to like see everything available. We're trying to see the thing that's going to meet your needs in that particular moment. And so there's that aspect for that service navigation. And then the other piece is a general resource list, because we do want youth to feel empowered in finding that support. You can absolutely see that full list and make educated decisions for yourself of what is going to be best for you and what is going to meet your need. So there's kind of those two pieces of system navigation. And then we also have, again, our safety planning part of the app. And the safety plan, again, it's on the phone, so it's really quick. You're able to just pull it up when you need it. It's there for that reference. And it's also made youth actually consulted with clinicians to make sure that that language was trauma-informed, was clinically backed, was evidence-based, but it's also really simple to read and understand. So you can go through, you can include your medical information, your personal information, and then also your safety plan. So what is going to help you in a time of crisis? What's worked for you before? What new thing maybe do you want to try out the next time in crisis that's, going to be something that might support you really well? Or maybe if, self-harm might be a concern, what are we going to try and replace that with? Or what are we going to try and do instead that's going to support your overall well-being? And then, like I said, lastly, the reach out safely section. So that part of the app was actually really, really strongly advocated for the youth that we originally worked with, because they really wanted other youth to know that they had rights when they're reaching out for support. We know that it's incredibly overwhelming to call somebody, to message somebody and ask for help. I'm not good at asking for help most of the time. And so even finding the language and that being a really important piece. So in the reach out safely section, there is actually like a script, a get help script that you can use those words when you're calling a crisis line. There's little bits of information about how to cope, and there's your rights when you're reaching out for support, because you have rights. And if you're in a situation that isn't meeting your needs, you need to know and be empowered to, be able to stand up for yourself and know what your rights are. So kind of like those are the main sections. Again, I can probably talk more and more about the different details and features that we've included based on the feedback that we've gotten from youth. But we work with partners all across Canada to add the resources to the app. So not every single city across Canada is on the app, but we do have regions across Canada. There is always province-wide, territory-wide resources. And again, we're constantly partnering with new organizations, with new cities to add more resources so that the resources are specific, that they meet the needs of that community, and that they fit well for that community.
You guys said so many important things. I'm going to touch on all of the ones I remember. Okay, so firstly, just the topic of it being so simple. And the thing that stood out specifically was understanding that when you're in a crisis, like you're very overwhelmed. And that itself is a very scary process outside of whatever situation you might be in. Because I know even when I'm a little bit stressed, like my thought process changes. It's more like immediately fight or flight. There's no like logic in what I'm thinking until I've completely calmed myself down and I can reflect on what happened, what I went through, and again, like how I would change how I performed if this situation was to happen again. So having that simplicity is such an important thing, especially when you are in that stage of crisis. So I think that's such a beautiful thing to keep in mind when you're making apps like this. The other thing was like being able to put in your medical records, being able to say, okay, this is something I'd like to try. What can I replace harmful tendencies with? Like, so you're almost having like a follow-up after, but in a more tangible way. Like you have access to what you want and what you feel you need after the fact. So we're like on a constant like uphill progress as we're going through situations of crisis. So I also think like you guys have thought of so much, whereas like I'm like, I wouldn't even have thought of these things, but these are so important and these are so integral to making sure that the youth are having these outlets and having this understanding that they are okay. And the third one, which I was like shocked, is the scripts. I think that's incredible because even when I'm booking a doctor's appointment, I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm stressed. So having like these scripts to be able to talk to these, again, strangers, right? Like these are not people you know. You don't know if you can trust them yet. You're just assuming that they're there to help you in the way that you need, right? And having those scripts to go off so you don't have to think about all that. It's already there for you when you have inspiration. You know what to say. You know the points that you need to touch on to get yourself the best help that you possibly can. So I think everything you said was incredible, but those are what stood out to me from what that was so great.
Thank you. And I always like to say this too, like English is my second language. And just knowing that there's a script that I can read at the time of a crisis, because as you were saying, like there's no like kind of like logic, and then like kind of like there's just so much happening that I can't recall sometimes like the words that I want to say in English. And I know that other newcomer youth may relate to this as well, kind of like navigating the system, it's already overwhelming. Then knowing what to say is already overwhelming, recalling your medical information and all these different things. And so we wanted to simplify that process and be like, if you're overwhelmed and you can't recall and you can't like kind of like have that kind of like conversation in English, just show their phone. Just show your phone and show, here's my medical information, this is my personal information, and then follow the script if that's something that makes you feel kind of like more comfortable in that moment, and if that's the tool that you need. So I always like to say this because like I relate to it a lot, but I feel like it's just a way of like giving you comfort and knowing that you have a tool that you can look back on at that time of crisis.
That's such an important point. Again, something I wouldn't have thought of. But like just having that lens as well is it's such a great thing to have because yeah, again, the script, even me, English is the only language I speak. I'm boring, but having that script when I'm too overwhelmed and again, like not able to recall, I feel like that's such a big thing because it's like you're in a state of shock. right?
Yeah.
And it's like there's so many things that you want to say, but it just might not come to you as quickly as you need it to in order to help yourself. So yeah, having the script there, like I see how much of a difference that's going to make in the quality of care that youth are getting with what they're going through. So that's awesome. Again, you guys are awesome. Okay, next, who helped create this and what was the process involved?
Yeah, so the Be Safe app was made through co-creation process, like Valentina said. So it was made with youth in that interactive, the creative workshops piece. And it really, we go through that to innovate and create new mental health tools. And so we have these conversations with youth where we talk to them about what's important to them. And the youth that we worked with for this particular project, were youth who had experience of accessing the emergency room for that mental health or the substance use crisis. And so they had intimate knowledge of what that was like. And those youth were really passionate about, maybe there's better resources out there for those times. Like we know the emergency room is always there. It is always a good resource to go and try and get that help. Sometimes you don't get the help that you need in that place. And sometimes there is a more appropriate resource that you could reach out to that might meet your needs a little bit better. And so again, those youth advocated for what was really important to them for that time of crisis. So again, those are those pieces of, safety planning. You do have the ability within yourself to heal and to lean on your resilience and to know a way forward and find a way forward. And so keeping those tools that you've tried in the past in your safety plan is incredibly important, but also reaching out for help and finding some support because you don't have to go through it alone. And we think that's really important too. And so the youth worked with us along with, again, like Valentina said, the KMH group and also a group from London. And since then, I think since that first beginning, it has undergone a lot of updates. And so part of that process, youth worked really closely, like I said, with clinicians. Different groups of youth came in and worked through focus groups with us to give us feedback on the app, what was working, what they wanted to see different. And so I think it's gone through a lot of updates. It's looked a lot different over the years. And then actually this past year, we went through an evaluation from the Mental Health Commission of Canada. And so they went through to look at the privacy, the security, the cultural awareness, and kind of all of these pieces that ensure that the app is respecting those who are using it and really protecting their rights. And so we went through that. We passed the evaluation, which we're very excited about. And from that process, like we also have some little tips of things that we can do to even bump it up and make it even better. And so we're constantly looking to how can we update? How can we find new ways of helping youth? Like you said, youth look different throughout the generations. And even though some of those needs stay the same, some of the ways that they use products look different. And so we're always looking at to evolve and to find what's going to work best.
Yeah, for sure. That is incredible. One of the things I wanted to talk about was, again, the abundance of resources and how that's important. But because I know even when I was younger, if I was going through something and I thought of, okay, what is the resource I'm going to use? Who am I going to go to? If I went to that resource and it didn't work, I would stop looking because I was under this impression that that's my only option. And if it doesn't work, I'm on my own. And again, we don't want, like you said, like we don't want the youth to think that it ends after you ask for help one time. Like there's hundreds of different resources that you can have in your back pocket to help you with what you're going through. Again, culturally specific, but also situation specific. Like every situation has their own set of resources that you can pull through. So it's not that you just have it's a one and done and it's one resource for everything. Like everything has its own nuances that you can pull from. And that is just wonderful. I'm just in awe all the time. Like everything you said was fantastic and great. And I just love learning from you guys. That's why I love being here. Like you guys teach me so much. I feel like I'm like in my favorite class at school. This is great.
It's so lovely. Well, and I think like because we've worked with so many youth again through this project, through so many other projects, like there's so many voices that I think we are hoping to bring to the table every time that we do these things, and we want to represent the youth that have advocated for these things really well too.
Yeah, and it's like the youth are advocating for each other. Like it's not that they're doing it just for themselves because they want their own resources. They want youth everywhere to know that they have these resources, they have the rights, and that it's a constantly evolving system. Because like you said, like some things will always stay the same needs wise, but there are differences within the generations and different ways that we can access a wider range of youth to make sure everyone has the level of resources that they need pertaining to what they're going through. And yeah, so one of the many things I find so great about you guys is the way you allow youth to be in the driver's seat of their mental health journey. So could you elaborate on why it's so important for youth to be involved in designing youth mental health resources?
Youth like co-creation and engagement is like at the heart of everything that we do at Mind Your Mind. So when we create a resource, we're not only kind of like providing that space for the youth to kind of like share their ideas and like innovating with us a solution, but they're also part of like the feedback process. So if we were to create a prototype, we bring it back to the youth and we do that as many times as we need until we get it right, until the vision that we spoke about, until kind of like everyone's voices are included, that we've thought everything through together. So we really want to bridge that gap between kind of like the youth and their needs and challenges and barriers and those resources that are being created for them. We don't want to create a resource without including the voice of youth, without centering what they need and creating a resource that it's relatable, it's pertinent to their needs. And so that's why we try to like update it as many times as we need. Like the needs of youth in 2014 are changing and there's so many other barriers that I could be facing. So we're constantly kind of like updating our tools, discussing with other youth, doing different focus groups, and just making sure that youth are centered in kind of like the conversations, in the co-creation process, the review process, and it's just really everything that we do at Mind Your Mind really needs to have that voice of youth. We really want to center it. And it's that sense of like empowerment. It's that sense of knowing that their lived experience with mental illness, with navigating the system, with going to emergency room service at a time of a mental health or substance use crisis is expertise. And we treat it as such. We really value their experience. We value their perspectives, innovation, and this process that we do through our design labs, that's why it's so meaningful. It's using like design thinking. So we have creativity and social innovation, but it's also engaging youth in those really important conversations and giving them a space to talk about them. And then after that, doing something about them.
Perfect. I feel like from what I'm observing, like you guys remind youth that they're stronger than they're stronger than they think, but also stronger together. And I feel like that's so important, especially when you feel like maybe no one's understanding you, or maybe you are feeling lonely and you feel like there's nowhere to get help. It's just a reminder that you are okay because of that resilience that you naturally have. And that is just wonderful. And you guys say that the youth is at the forefront of Mind Your Mind, and it truly does show with the work that you do. And like you say, you're constantly evolving and taking that constructive criticism and the critique and feedback from the youth to make sure that one, like who you're catering to is a very diverse sample because it is catering to everyone. But the fact that you're willing to be there with them, taking those steps forward with them as a collective.
I was just gonna say like that idea of by youth for youth. And then we still kind of like have that process of consulting with clinicians and making sure it's evident, kind of like informed and that all the information it's kind of like also in line with the research, but it's centering that the youth have that power of creating change and they have that power within them. And I think that's so beautiful.
And it is. They are powerful because youth are so smart and they come up with such important and creative initiatives. I feel over the years, like there's always something new that can be done. And it's because the youth are taking the time to think about them, but also present it in a way that isn't selfish. Again, like it's for us, but it's for everyone. And that's what I think is so amazing. You guys just let that happen. And it's great. Do you guys have any fun facts about the creation of the app?
Yes, we always love to say this, but we call the Be Safe app the little app that could. And
Oh,
it's that little app that started from a design lab as like a group of 8 youth, and then we all just started dreaming together something that could help. And it started of just London, Ontario. That's where we are based out of. And then other regions across Canada started seeing the value of the BeSafe app and how they can incorporate that in their own community. So they started reaching out to us and be like, how can we add our regions? And that's how we started expanding across Canada. So it was an app that was created for London. And then we started seeing the potential, and other people started seeing the potential and the value in supporting youth across Canada, navigating services and that time of crisis. And so we like to say it's a little app that could, and that's our fun fact. It's just like it expanded, and now it's this wonderful big app that we kind of like imagined and dreamed of, but it's now kind of materializing and becoming even bigger as it goes.
that is actually the cutest thing I've ever encountered in my life. I love that, the little app that could. That's incredible. I'm so glad you guys thought of that, because that just fully encompasses it so well. And also the fact that you started in one area, you've reached me in Mississauga and so many other places, right? And that's just so incredible. But it also shows that you guys are very progressive. So the people who are believing in you guys right now are able to believe in you guys forever, essentially, because you have built that trust and you've built that foundation that makes you people that can others can turn to in time of need. And that in 10 years from now, you guys are still going to be those people that youth can turn to in their time of need, because of how progressive and how you're always working to better yourselves. And I think that is very important. So congratulations on being the best ever, in my opinion, and many other people's opinions. Okay, so where can our audience get the app and connect with Mind Your Mind?
Yeah, so Be Safe is available for free on both app stores. You can search Be Safe, you can search Be Safe by Mind Your Mind. You can also find some quick links at the website that we made in companion with the app. So besafeapp.ca. So you can go there, you can find some quick links to the stores, and also frequently asked questions. So again, like we said, your privacy is entirely confidential, but if you want to read more about that, you can find it on the website. If you want to see the regions across Canada, you can find that there. There's a map, there's some downloadable resources. So if you are working within like a mental health club or something like that within your school and you want to share about the app, there's some posters, there's some social media images, you're free to use them and download them as much as you'd like. And then also important to note, the app doesn't require an internet connection to use. Like I said, it is entirely confidential. And so, yeah, please explore it and choose your region and find, the resources that you need.
And then with Mind Your Mind, you can find us at our website, which is mindyourmind.ca. There's lots of resources and information on like mental health and mental illnesses and navigating times of crisis, and all of the resources that we have co-designed with youth live in our website. You can also sign up for monthly updates with our Mind Bites, and you'll be able to find that little button to subscription on our website at the bottom of the page. And then our social media. So we're across all socials. You'll find us as mindyourmind.ca. We share about mental health, our tools, wellness tips. We are even on Pinterest. We like to say that. So you can like download our resources for free and use them. And we like to create our socials a space where we can advocate for mental health and youth mental health, but also sharing those wellness tips. So you'll find us in a lot of places.
Great. You guys are just a big bundle of joy and a big bundle of information. I love it so much. And I feel like it's so cool that the Be Safe app doesn't require internet. That's awesome, because I'm running out of data and all the time. So yeah, being able to use it, like it's so accessible, like that you guys have gone to the ends of the earth to make it accessible. And that is such a beautiful, wonderful thing on your part. And I've never heard of mental health resources on Pinterest. That is so cool. I love this all the time. So I will be following for sure and keeping up with you guys because I missed you guys from way back in June. So I'm so glad we got to reunite.
Yeah, this feels wonderful. It's always so lovely to like connect with you, and we really appreciate how you see us and you see our work, and you are constantly complimenting our like work and our passion for mental health, and we see your passion for mental health too, and we're just like really happy to see that we can be in the space and create change and do our best to kind of like support youth across Canada.
Truly, honestly, I appreciate that so much, but it's the least that we can do, the least I can do to uplift you guys and make sure that what you're doing is seen by as many people as possible because the work you do is so important and so incredible. So it's my pleasure. I'm so happy to have you guys here. I'm so happy to be here, and I hope we are reunited again.
I look forward to that too.
Yeah, we would love that.
Okay, viewers, hello again. Please make sure to go check out Mind Your Mind. Please make sure to check out the Be Safe app. You can use it anywhere, like they said, mental health communities, anywhere. Just make sure you download it, make sure you're getting in touch, and just using it to learn more about yourself, what your needs are, because you never know when you're going to need it. So it's better to be prepared. And thank you once again to Jill and Valentina for hanging out with me during this podcast. I learned so much, and I am forever grateful for you guys and your light and your energy and your joy and your passion. It is beautiful, and you guys are wonderful. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you too.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley.
Alrighty, that's all, everyone. Goodbye.
If you want to hear more stories, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. To support more youth by youth-led projects, visit us at youthspeak.ca, where you can donate and spread youth mental health awareness.
YouthSpeak Charity. Speak, inspire, change.